Hey everyone, welcome back to the Life Ain't Bad podcast, where you get your fortnightly dose of pseudo-facts from a mid-20s guy going through the thick of it. It's Oliver here today, and we'll be talking about something that has, I guess you can say, loomed over my shoulder for years and years. Honestly, if I were to describe myself using one word, I'd say I'm confident. I'm the type of guy that would mingle with anyone and would be totally sure that I've made a great first impression. So confident that that's the case, that I low-key kind of feel like I'm trying to sell you dodgy insurance plans. You know, the kind of dudes that come off just a little too strong, but they're really sure about what they want in life. With that being said, here is the question of the day. Have you ever felt surges of inspiration to want to do something, to start something, to create something? And you've thought about all the possibilities, all the things you could achieve, all the joy you could bring to yourself and others around you, but, huge but, you start sabotaging yourself and allowing thoughts of self-doubt to creep up on you. Ever thought about that? Has that ever happened? Thoughts like, you sure that this will work? What if the product you're trying to pump out isn't as desirable as you think? What if all this is just a waste of money? What if this potential employer of a job I'm applying for doesn't exactly want me? Well, today's your lucky day then. If you've ever had a strong sense of self-doubt, which is totally normal, might I add, then hey, I hope today's episode helps you out. I've really missed you. So come on, let's hold hands and believe in each other. Hey, your hand's pretty soft. You been moisturizing? Ah, that's great. I can tell you've been hydrating yourself as well. You know what? I'm proud of you. Before we begin, however, I like to explicitly remind everyone that I am not a professional, and anything that you may come across in this podcast should be taken with a grain of salt, or a lot of salt, but at least a grain. My goal with this podcast is to utilize all that I've learned throughout my life and have recently understood, use all that, and try to help you listeners in any shape or form. If I could just say one thing that resonates with you and helps you, then this episode and this whole podcast would be a success in my eyes. So, let's jump into this. First, we've got to define what self-doubt is. And a quick Google search will tell us that self-doubt occurs when we lack confidence and feel incapable of doing things that we need to do. It's a state of uncertainty with regard to the truth or reality of anything really. When I say anything, you can be really doubtful about anything and everything. So let's go through some of my experiences with self-doubt, shall we? This is the cue for all of you to safely judge me from a distance because, come on, please be kind. I'm trying my best over here, okay? Self-doubt has been a huge part of my life growing up, despite my confident and extroverted nature. It's a weird one. I come off as energetic and sure of myself, but man, oh man, do I struggle. I have doubted myself in many aspects of my life, most particularly in relationships and in my job, which is totally normal. You'd be a little sociopathic if you've never experienced the tiniest bit of self-doubt in your job at the very least, which is, I guess, a good thing. I don't know, I guess. So, let's move on. So in my previous romantic relationship, or relationships, self-doubt clouded what I wanted whenever I got into one, and that mismatched my expectations from reality far too often. I had immense trouble accepting that I was good enough to be in a relationship, let alone good enough for anyone, even after getting together with them. I always felt I lacked so many qualities to be deemed attractive. And back then I was like 95 kilos, being 5'8". It was tough. And there's nothing wrong with being 5'8" and 90 kilos, but it was tough on me. I always felt like I lacked so many qualities to be deemed attractive, so I started working out 4 to 5 times a week to be more physically attractive. I watched so many YouTube videos to acquire certain personality traits that I lacked, like being super macho, which totally ain't me. I just want to cuddle all day, man. Damn. Leave a squishy man alone, man. Dang. I started rejecting certain parts of my personality because I didn't believe they were good enough or attractive enough for the people that I dated, just so I could mold myself into what my partner wanted. Because that's what they preferred, right? They didn't outwardly tell me, but that's surely the case, right? But you know what the worst part was? When things kept not working out, I blamed myself because perhaps I'm just not good enough. I'm not good enough. I doubted I was good enough for anyone. It's a wild one because self-doubtful people tend to underestimate their partner's love and perceive their partners less positively, which resulted in them being less satisfied in a relationship. Wait a minute. Maybe it was me that was the problem all along. And I created fake scenarios in my head this whole time. Who would have thought? Not me. But anyways, in terms of my career in business, safe to say, we've all had troubles with imposter syndrome during some part of our working lives. No? Oh, okay. So you're the confident employee ready to take my job. Okay. You know what? Good for you, Amy. Take it, Amy. I'm not afraid of you. Just a little bit. But I digress. Outside of my full-time job, I've discovered a passion for cooking, as we all have during the pandemic, which makes me kind of basic. But I tried studying food on the side, and so far so good. However, one thing that I'm still trying to manage is how do I accept criticism on my food without it tarnishing my self-worth? Yeah, I'm still working on it, but there are a few ways in which I've learned to manage it, which you'll find out soon enough. I have this strong aversion to criticism, not because I'm egotistical in any way, but because I had so much self-doubt beforehand that I could make someone's life better through my food. To the point, even a tiny bit of negativity in what I do brings me down so much because I feel as if I've disappointed people. Wait, this sounds oddly familiar to my relationship story, huh? You know what? Something might be wrong. But anyways, similarly with this podcast, it took me months to finally muster up the courage to release any of these episodes. It took me months working through specific methods to help me cope with self-doubt. And here I am looking to help you too. A similarity that I like to point out with all my experiences that I've shared is that all this self-doubt comes from not knowing the results of my actions or products that I put out. I'm self-sabotaging because I can't see and feel a reaction. Keep that in mind when you start feeling that feeling too. You'll come to realize that it's a lot more common than you think. So now, where does self-doubt come from? There are many reasons as to why we become doubtful of our abilities, and I'll try my best to narrow them down as much as possible. So, are you ready? Numero uno, comparing yourself with others. Now, this is a prime reason. Your prime ribs ain't gonna be more prime than this, alright? Have you ever believed that you couldn't do something the way someone else did? Especially nowadays, where everywhere on social media you see people's successes and how they're living their best lives, or rather, what we perceive to be their best lives. We gauge success and failure by the norm, which is always set by other people, not by you, by other people. Standards, not by you. So here's a quick question. If you never had the ability to compare yourself with anyone else, would you still be troubled by self-doubt? On the other hand, where would you get confidence for your abilities? So reason number one where self-doubt comes from is that you compare yourself to other people. Numero dos, having a fixation on a particular outcome. I think it's safe to say that every sane person has a fear of failing. But you know what? That's a great thing. Being afraid of failure shows you have the drive, the passion, belief even. However, when we become fixated on a particular outcome, not only do we become paralyzed by the possibility of failure, but we also blind ourselves from all other perspectives. We've already accepted that perhaps failure is the most likely outcome, and that hurts us in the long run. Numero tres. Number 3. I'm butchering the Spanish pronunciations, by the way. Anyways, numero tres. Feeling like an imposter. I suppose this one isn't a reason as to why you become doubtful of yourself, but it's a reason that makes the feeling so much worse. Have you ever felt as if your accomplishments were flukes or undeserved? Simple example. You get a promotion at work, whereas another colleague doesn't, and you feel as if they're more deserving than you, simply because you have no belief in your abilities to do a good job. It can be anything, like having thousands of Instagram followers and thinking that maybe they don't really follow you for the reasons you expect them to, and that maybe other people have better content than you do. So you're thinking, you know what, I'm kidding. You have more followers, there's a reason why, okay? Okay, I'm not really sure. But that's self-doubt. You don't know. You don't know anything. And then you doubt yourself. So here's another one. Number 4. And it's a fun one because we all sure as heck got some. Childhood, trauma, and experiences. Now, there's this piece of research that talks about attachment theory. So attachment theory holds that children who experience consistently positive interactions with their caregivers, aka your parents, or your aunts, your guardians, your uncles, etc., are more likely to form a secure attachment or a basic understanding that they can rely on their caregivers to meet their needs. They feel secure attachment bonds, which is believed to have laid the foundations for good relationships in the future. And people who develop this early on is likely to engage in relationships in which they feel loved and supported. On the flip side, however, bad attachment, which stems from constant negative interactions with their caregivers, makes a child question one's worthiness of love and may contribute to the development of a general sense of self-doubt. These people growing up have difficulty in engaging in and maintaining healthy relationships in adulthood. Now, this isn't a given though, but it could happen. Based on where I come from, the self-doubt developed through the negative relationships come from, for example, caregivers who aren't particularly open to certain potential career paths. So they may downplay their child's interest in said fields, like futures in content creation. It's one of those old-fashioned scenarios of, if you're not a doctor or an engineer, then you have failure as your career, which stifles one's confidence in the long run if that has been the end goal for years and years of one's life. Not speaking from experience. Gotta throw away all that trauma. It ain't for me. But lastly, number 5. Self-doubt doesn't have to develop through your formative years though. It can occur unexpectedly through a crisis in adulthood like divorce or a job loss or even a breakup. There are 2 scenarios to a breakup. Either you're heartbroken and a slug in your bed sheets with a tub of ice cream, or you've morphed back into a teen and you're rocking your emo eyeliner again. Don't ask me how I know about both. Just don't. I just know. Okay. If you get fired, you'll constantly be thinking about why you weren't good enough, whether you could have done better. In reality, maybe it's just because of the pandemic and nothing to do with you. If you went through a breakup and you feel as if you could have done so much more, maybe you already did all you could. You laid it all out on the plate and they weren't hungry. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Also, if you're listening to this and have never been in a relationship, don't sweat it. There'll be an episode on how to get into one eventually, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully, it'll be out as soon as possible, and I'm going to get someone on with me, and we'll see how it goes, so stay tuned for that one too. Now, in this section, I'm going to hopefully shine some clarity on you, because here are a few signs that perhaps you are struggling with self-doubt. Here are the signs. Firstly, you have difficulty accepting compliments. I was so guilty of this one, especially after my last breakup, because I felt ugly, useless, and unattractive. And learning to receive compliments was absolutely so crushing. Because why? Anytime someone offered me a compliment, instead of saying thank you, I'd ask, really? Really? You think my eyebrows suit my shoes? I don't think so, but it's nice of you to think so. Thank you. But not, well, I never said thank you. Just a lot of reallys. I used to consistently get anxious or nervous whenever I received a compliment. Even though most of them came from my mom, still it was hard to accept them anyways. Maybe it was harder because it was from my mom. Thanks, Mom. I love you too. It was because I didn't value myself enough. Remember, however, weird, unsolicited compliments from people over the internet are weird, and it's alright to be weirded out by them. It came to a point that perhaps I avoided situations where I might get complimented, and that was a weird one because of point 2, which is, second sign, you're always seeking reassurance. So I've tried to avoid getting into situations where I might get complimented, but I only thought I was doing it. You see, you crave for the things you don't have, and feeling some sort of reassurance that maybe I wasn't just a heap of junk was what I needed. So I dressed up in nice flowery clothes and always had my hair did, even though I didn't feel worthy to even look that way. I think to myself that I didn't want compliments, but at the same time, I wanted to be noticed. This was a habitual pattern that developed over time. When you doubt your abilities, you get anxious. And then the quickest way to alleviate that is by others acknowledging and supporting you. Reassurance also comes in the form of having a hard time making decisions. Think about that. When was the last time someone looked at you and went, hey, what are we eating today? And you just freeze. One thing that I had to work on myself was determining what to eat for the people in my house every day. And that stressed me out so badly because I doubted that I was able to make everyone happy in this household. That, of course, is just a small example, but one I struggled with for years. It's crucial, absolutely crucial, that you break the cycle of seeking reassurance for every decision, because this habit trains your mind to not trust your judgment, which may intensify your self-doubt. Number 3, you have low self-esteem. Now, this is a topic best reserved for another time, however, but just a quick little dip. Let's go, okay? The cycle acts like this. With low self-esteem, it's as if a person has been following you around all day, calling you dumb, even if you know you're not. But this constant doubt does wear you down emotionally to the point it can start impacting your sense of self and identity. It's as if someone keeps saying the same things to you, same negative things to you. You're dumb, you're dumb, you're dumb. And you tell yourself, no, I'm not even close. But at some point, there's this little bit of, there's an inkling of doubt in you. You're thinking, you know what, maybe? Is there any part of me that's a little bit dumb? And when you're caught off guard and on that day where you did probably something that wasn't so smart, you're going to absorb that negative energy so badly, and you're just going to feel like, oh God, you know what? Probably am dumb. But that's all right. That's all right. The vicious cycle continues where you consistently second guess your decisions and preferences. And that makes you feel worse because you may be reinforcing that voice in your head saying that you're not good enough. It's a scary thing, but there are ways to deal with it. Number 4, you have difficulty giving yourself credit. This one is similar to accepting compliments. So, quick question. Have you ever done something you're really proud of, but it's so hard to pat yourself on the back for it? Yeah, I'll join you. I felt that when I sold food in my apartment complex for the first time. 10 orders in the first week. Whew, it was an amazing feeling. But there I was, going, but anyone could do what I just did. What makes me so special? To which I replied to myself, yeah, but did they do it? Did they? They could, but did they? This can be applied to everything. Did the guy living next door work out today? Nope, I did. Did they grind out 10 levels on my MMORPG account today? Nope, I did. Did they bring the glass that's been in my bedroom for over a week into the kitchen today? No, I did. And I'm proud of myself. And lastly, number 5, you feel like you're never good enough. Plain and simple. Self-doubt in all its glory. Self-doubt can become a habit, kind of like a default way of thinking. It can become so automatic and ingrained as to be almost invisible. You don't even realize you're doubtful. If doubting yourself becomes as simple as the water you swim in, it's hard to imagine you could climb out of that pool and dry yourself off. Well, lucky for you, here comes a section on how to deal with it. Tried and tested by yours truly. Oops, okay, I admit something. We're not quite there yet. There is one more section, I promise, and in this section, I'm going to share really quickly how people usually deal with self-doubt. This study has been quoted by many online articles that I've looked into, and it's by Braslow, Guretas, Arkin, and Olson. And they signify that self-doubters ultimately have 4 kinds of coping mechanisms. Number 1, self-handicapping. So this person determines success based on their ability. This person likes to convince themselves that a failure occurred simply because of this handicap that they have. Like, Tommy is able to run faster because he's got more years of training. I mean, if I were to put myself in a comparison, right? I've been playing football for 9 years, and I still have the coordination of a wet cloth compared to people who've played less years than I have. So maybe this handicap doesn't really exist, but it's a way that it's a reasoning that we use in order to cope with our self-doubt, with a little bit of our failures in our abilities. Now, number 2, other enhancements. When a performance is very comparative, where 2 people sort of go head to head, rather than on some absolute standard, this person would say they failed because of an advantage enjoyed by their opponent. An enhancement like a better gaming chair. Yeah, better gaming chair. Gamers, you know what I mean? You got that nice chair that can go all the way 180 and you know it's great for your back. You know you're going to play better. Now, number 3, overachieving. This person determines success through their performance compared to the first person who is self-handicapping. They base their success on their abilities. This person who overachieves bases their successes through their performance instead of their ability. Their self-doubt occurs and festers because they cannot know for sure whether it is their abilities that resulted in a successful outcome or was it their extra effort. because they can't clearly determine what makes them successful. They compensate by doing a lot more. If you ever thought that overachievers are super confident and always know what they're doing, man, they're human too. And I think they have the most self-doubt of anyone else. And it's crazy because I remember in high school, I had 4 or 5 of them just surrounding me, and I was the underachiever. Oh, I must have been pretty cool in high school, huh? Totally flunking everything. Hells yeah. Anyways, lastly, the imposter phenomenon. So, when someone has the imposter phenomenon, they're able to use it as coping mechanism. Yes, the infamous imposter syndrome. So this person believes their successful outcomes are not accurate reflections of their abilities or their performance. Heck, they believe everything they've achieved are unearned and illegitimate. So they cite luck, timing, or good fortune as their keys to success. It's not necessarily a bad thing though. If anything, imposter syndrome kind of makes you sound pretty humble. If any of this kind of sounds like you, or you've subconsciously or consciously done things that, allowed you to cope with self-doubt, then perhaps you're just absolutely normal and you've got self-doubt like any other healthy individual. What you do with it, however, is what determines its healthiness. Dun 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 dun! And now we've made it. How to deal with self-doubt. With yours truly. Tried and tested. There is no one-size-fits-all kind of solution, but I'll blast out whatever I've learned and researched for you. Note again. I have done all this in the past and I've seen improvements in myself, but again, I'm not a professional. I'm simply a guy who wants to do better. And if I can take you along for the ride, then I'm going to carry you all the way. Take 1 or 2 of these and try it out for a few weeks. You know what? That sounds a little long. Why not just take 2 weeks and see how you feel? I'd suggest, however, before you start any of these, to write down how you're feeling today. If you can, pause the podcast really quickly and whip up your phone and write down notes on how you're feeling about yourself. Just anything and everything in general, because these tips may help with other feelings and emotions. If you have a journal, write it down. It's nice to see all your pains and pleasures in front of your eyes and, on full display, totally naked. All right, you ready? Let's jump into it. The first all-important step, which has helped me the most, is acknowledging and embracing my self-doubt. What I mean by this is that you must accept that you are suffering, because that's when the healing and growth can begin. There's this article that I read by a psychologist known as Nick Wignall, and he offers up this important quote to his readers. What we resist persists. What we resist persists. If we're outwardly denying and resisting the fact that there may be a problem, we will never get it resolved. Denial is a difficult thing because we don't want to identify ourselves as someone with a problem. It's important to note, however, you're human. We all have problems. I used to think my big ass was a problem in high school, like my physical ass. Until I started embracing that I had a dump truck butt for a dude, and that's when I started accepting myself more. Now, having a big ass wasn't exactly a problem, and I wasn't suffering from having a big ass. But what I'm trying to say is, the moment you accept, hey, this is me, this is what I have, the more you're ready to accept that, alright, if it's a problem, I can fix it. If my butt is big, I can learn to love myself. I can learn to love my butt. And you can love your butt too. So what do I mean by acknowledging and embracing my self-doubt? It goes something like this. First, I start feeling that doubt bubbling up to the surface. I can feel the dread in my heart. So now, I briefly acknowledge that, hey, this is an episode. I'm having a self-doubt episode right now. I let myself see and feel what that self-doubt is like. Did it feel terrible? Did it feel overwhelming? I close my eyes, breathe, and let it set in. Think about it. It's a little bit like meditation. So which part of my body did it affect? After closing my eyes and feeling around, I could tell that it went away as soon as I noticed it. Once I noticed the feeling, I would mumble to myself something along the lines of, oh, there it is, and there it goes. If you actually go out of your way to try and feel it, it's weird because you might feel certain parts of your body feel a bit more strained and things like that. And once you realize it's there, you can kind of shift it. Or the moment you see it's there, that kind of strain just disappears. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. Now, embracing your self-doubt means to accept that it is there and realize it's happening. And most importantly, be willing to have it. And then refocus your energy and attention onto whatever you were doing prior. So let's say you were making art, cooking, doing work, anything you were doing before this episode, and you feel it. So what you do is you feel it, acknowledge it, close your eyes. What part of the body is it affecting? Let it run through you. Accept that it is there. Accept that you're going through it right now. You're going through the thick of it right now. And then when you've settled, and when you've calmed, go back to whatever you were doing. With this, you'll train your brain to not be so reactive to its own self-doubt. And that makes it easier to move on and past it every time it comes back. I do this with every single emotion, every single negative emotion I feel. Whenever I'm feeling absolutely down, I realize whatever I'm feeling, I accept that feeling and either continue my work or change my environment. Be it going for a walk or even just sitting in a different part of the house, sniffing another one of my fake plants. I do this with positive emotions too, so I can fully enjoy all that I'm feeling. I admit this is something that I picked up from this amazing doctor on Twitch called Dr. K. If you have not heard of him, please look him up. He always advises his clients to catch when they're feeling a certain way, and he uses the word catch. So when you feel the doubt set in once more, catch it. Catch that feeling. So you may be able to see it so much easier whenever it comes back. Whenever you feel it, you caught it. Oh, that's me going again. And you can repeat the cycle over and over again, and it becomes second nature after a while. The second thing I've done to help myself through my self-doubt is by being skeptical of my thoughts and separating them from myself. Following up on what Dr. K says, you need to understand that the doubt you're feeling, or whatever negative emotion that you're feeling and thinking about, are merely thoughts constructed by your brain. For example, you say that Jeff or Jess is more suitable than you for the new job opening. However, in reality, you don't know how everyone feels about that. You don't know. Your boss may feel you have the right traits and skills compared to them. Your colleagues may prefer you over them. You've created an unfavorable scenario in your mind. Crazy thing about it is, you can't prove that the scenario is true unless you flat out ask for everyone's opinion. So, whenever I feel as if I'm not good enough for something, I firstly catch myself, as mentioned before, then I place myself in this third person point of view, where I analyze if the thoughts I have are truthful or not, whether they're really happening. Is what I'm feeling factual? Is there any proof to what I'm feeling is true? Here's a personal example. Me and this podcast, right here, this podcast. I've had doubts about if what I'm doing will even help anyone, and that scares me. So what do? I catch that thought. Catch myself thinking about there I go again, thinking I can't help anybody. And then I carry on writing the script that you guys are listening to right now. At the end of the day, logically, if this podcast is useful to any person, then I've already achieved my goal of helping others. Just like a teacher, you may feel, crap. How can I even be a teacher when I can't even take care and love myself? How do I love my students? How do I love my kids? Hey now, catch that thought and embrace how you feel. Feel how that negative feeling is rubbing off on you. It's gyrating its hips on you right now, and you just have to take it. You just gotta accept that it's there. Now look at that feeling from an outside lens. Where does that doubt even come from? It's as if it came out of thin air. So how is it that you can craft up a solid explanation for something so abstract? You've been doing this teacher thing for a while now. You've been doing this office job thing for a while now. Catering things, and you're still here doing what you are. And you are what you are. So keep going. All these negative thoughts are abstract. And you just conjure them out of nowhere. And as easily as you can conjure them out of nowhere, you can sure as hell try your very best to put them back in the box. Now the third thing. The third thing I did was a weird one. I gave my inner critic a name. And I call him El Biche. Yeah, I try to call him a slur. It's not the proper Spanish translation for the word, by the way, but you get it. Now, why did I do this and how did it help? Okay, so this analogy was taken from Nick Wignall. And he says, much like how your fingers produce fingernails, your thoughts are just things that your mind produces. But like your fingernails, Your thoughts don't fully determine and describe who you are. If you had an ugly fingernail, you wouldn't just assume that means something about you, would you? You are not your thoughts. I repeat, you are not your thoughts. One thing psychologists and psychiatrists suggest is to give your doubt a name, like LBJ. Giving it a name grants yourself permission to separate yourself from it. Yeah, I know that doesn't sound like it makes much sense, but it's sort of like making up a cartoon character for your doubt. And you don't exactly like this character. Him, her, they, It's helped me at least. And I can say, El biche is not pretty. And now that you've learned to understand that your thoughts are just thoughts, you may begin to restructure your thoughts. So now I'm going to introduce a new thing. It's called cognitive restructuring. So cognitive restructuring is a psychotherapeutic process of learning to identify and dispute your irrational thoughts, known as cognitive distortions. It's important to acknowledge your thoughts as separate from you as a person and to not assume that they're especially true or meaningful. With cognitive restructuring, you can restructure a particular unhelpful thought of self-doubt to be more rational, helpful, realistic even. So here's a quick example on how to do that. So you and your close friend got into an argument about something you believe to be very true, and then out of nowhere, okay, bear in mind, you and your friend have already fought. You and your friend are pissed at each other, sort of. So you and your close friend got into an argument about something you believe that was very true, and then out of nowhere, just self-doubt creeps in. Very not nice surprise, huh? Now you're thinking, I shouldn't have said what I said. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe whatever. Maybe whatever I thought about was wrong. Yeah, it shows you're human. You care about your good pal's feelings. So much so you downplay and disregard your own opinion so they would feel better. Now that ain't the way. So instead of thinking about all that, catch yourself in the moment and instead go, dang, it sucks that he or she or they felt that way, but I'm so glad I got that off my chest. It's important that we're able to discuss hard topics like this so it'll strengthen our relationship in the long run. Would this rationalization be something a third person would tell you? Absolutely. Because they're not directly emotionally invested in it. They can see what we can't see. So when you play that third person role for yourself, what that does is that it trains your brain to automatically take all your negative emotions out of your thoughts and analyze it from an outsider's point of view, ensuring it's more unbiased and helpful. Now, number 4. What I did was I embraced healthier comparisons. Yeah. I know, it sounds simple, but hang on. I'm going to offer you a different way to compare. You're probably thinking, fairly compare yourself to others who you can compete with. No. That's not it. I want you to compare yourself to your past self. Example, at work. This is an example of me. I always fear that I won't be able to present a certain deck. Then the doubt sets in. I go in the meeting room and 1,000 eyes wait anxiously to swallow me up. I present to the shadows and exit the cage feeling like a wreck. And I think about how freaking Amy performed so much better than I did. Freaking Amy. But you know what? Amy is Amy. I am I. You are you. Instead of comparing yourself to Amy or whoever your nemesis is, compare yourself to how you were when you just started the job. Compare yourself to how you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago. How did you work a few years ago compared to now? Could you do what you did 2 years ago? Like, my God, think of how you used to speak and what lingo you used to throw around. Think about how you used to type on Facebook. Comments. Do not go back there, guys. I'm telling you, I scrolled through like 2 or 3 hours on it the other day and I'm like, you know what? I am a better version of myself. I'm amazing. I love myself. I love you. Okay? You got this. You got it. And just think about how we used to say the word lit every single day and how we dread it because most of us are boomers now. What I'm trying to say is, damn, we were cringy just a few years ago and now look at you. You've become a better version of yourself. You've constantly been improving. Remember, even if you move at a 45-degree angle, sure, it ain't moving straight, but you're still moving forward, and that's what matters. So now, embrace the progress you've made and how far you've come. You're doing amazing, sweetie. Keep going. Another thing that I do to help chase away these demons is spending time with people who believe in you. Now, this one's a little lower on the list simply because it isn't as easily doable compared to the other methods, as you have to rely on others as well as yourself. So humans are social beings. You could be the biggest introvert, but even introverts need positive social interactions and affirmation. Introverts need hugs too, right? I think. Now, I can already feel you introverts cringing at the thought of human contact. I'm 100% sure you need affirmation. Wait, you don't believe me? Alright, here's something that I truly believe about you. I think you look great in the clothes you're wearing right now. Yeah, you look great. No. Take it in. Inhale and accept it. It's a compliment. Now accept it even if you don't believe it right now. You look great today. You know what? Whatever you were worrying about before, just know that I believe in you. You got it. I am proud of you. Now step back. And ask yourself, who are the people in my life that really love and support and believe in me? I know for a fact that some of you will say, nobody. Sure, but have a go at considering some people first before you make up your mind, alright? Your family members, mom, dad, brother, sister, imaginary cousin that doesn't really exist, but they're always there for you. Your partner, your friends, your best friend. Or that one girl you met in the bar's toilet and told you, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Or your dog, cat, hamster. I don't know, hamster, sure. You see, chances are there are definitely a few there. Just because they don't openly express it doesn't mean their love and support for you isn't there. Here's an even harder thing to do. And when I ask you to do this, try to really convince yourself that every single one of them feels this way, okay? Every single person that you think does not love you. Alright, here's the task. Convince yourself why they wouldn't love, support, and believe in you. All of them. Not one, but all. If you're struggling with reasons, then yeah, they probably love and support you. When you surround yourself with people who do so, it kind of acts as a domino effect. Kind of an invisible crutch when you can't get up. I'll give you an example, right? Growing up, I was never exactly a great student. Typical B's, C's, D's all around. But what made me think of myself as a crappy student was because everyone around me were low-key geniuses. And when I say low-key, I mean a single B for them was a failure. Where I sat in class, I had these people around me 360, 24/7. So for 2 years, it was like this. Me constantly comparing myself negatively to them. Extremely terrible, low self-esteem. Constantly needing reassurance that my answers were right when I was doing homework. And I never trusted my own abilities because how could I? When I could trust all the others around me because surely they were all correct whenever they were doing homework and things like that. I was constantly negatively comparing myself to them. One thing, however, that put me out of that rut, these people around kept believing in me. And they had this willingness to help me. And that propelled me so much further than I could have imagined. Almost straight A's in our public examinations, all because they believed that I wasn't beyond help. That they believed that their little support could help me even just the tiniest bit. Because they cared about me. And I surrounded myself. Well, I didn't have a choice back then. We had fixed seats. But because they cared about me and they surrounded me, it just, that amount of support really propelled me. And it's like this with almost everything in life. Which is why everyone encourages everyone to have their own support network, no matter how small. In order to be better, you gotta surround yourself with the best. It could be that random follower that you interact with every once in a while. That person's probably really good at art and you just want to be good at art, so you interact with them more often. One thing's for certain, people are a lot kinder than you think. A lot kinder. It's the unkind ones that are the loudest. And I wouldn't trade my family, my girlfriend, and my friends for anything now. Even if I don't know what they're thinking of me, I can somewhat be sure that they would only want good things to happen to me, as much as I want good for them. Spend more time with these people and be aware of how you feel regarding your doubts over time. Hey, if it helps, let me know. I want to hear it. Now, the last method I've mentioned before, and it's called journaling. Now, I've been journaling since 2018 or late 2017. I can't remember. I need to go back. But I can safely say my journals still look as if a 5-year-old wrote in it. When I say journaling here, I really refer more specifically towards documenting your success. Documenting your success. A gratitude diary, if you will. It could be in any notebook or your current journal. It could be an app on your phone. Now, what I want you to do is lock down one success in the day and one thing you're grateful for in the day. It could be the smallest thing if you like it to be, because even the smallest things in life are successes. Like, you made your bed, worked out even if it was only 10 minutes. You watched 15 minutes of YouTube less today compared to other days. You read 5 pages of a book that you tossed aside for months, Things like that. These are all successes. In terms of gratitude, it could be that you're grateful your favorite YouTuber uploaded a new video. You ate 3 satisfying meals today. Or a family member you talked to today is really happy. You could be grateful that the sky is blue. Start slow. Start slow with just one of each. Here, give it a shot right now. I'll go first. A success I had today was that I finished a podcast script. There we go. Which took me a long time because I'm a huge procrastinator. Now, your turn. Tell me something that you think is a success for you today. Great. I hope what you gave was a good one. Now, I'm grateful for my loving partner for telling me off because I was being a wimp about something earlier today. Thanks, Steph. Now, your turn. Give me something you're grateful for. Go. Don't know about that one. Nah, I'm just kidding. Couldn't have said it better myself. Good job. But if you decided to give me a bad one, good job. Because you gave me something anyways. Proud of you. And that's all that I've done. If you'd like me to summarize, I could give you a quick summary. So, what I did at first was, I acknowledged and embraced my self-doubt. That's number 1. Number 2, I was skeptical of my thoughts and separated myself from them. Number 3, I gave my inner critic a name. Number 4, I started trying this thing called cognitive restructuring that helped, basically rationalizing what you've been feeling. Number 5, I embraced healthier comparisons. Now, that was important. That was really important. Remember, your past self was definitely not as knowledgeable, not experienced as you are now. Number 6, I spent time with people who believed in me and supported me and cared for me. There is nothing you can do to replace them. So please, enrich your life with these people. And the last thing was journaling. Now, that one helped a lot as well. When I started in 2018, most of it was just, I ate food today. I did my laundry. And eventually it began into developing into having sections whereby I would discuss my emotions, a safe space for me to be really honest and critique whatever I was feeling and not have the pressure of other people looking at it and looking, oh my God, you've been feeling this way? What, you're a furry? Okay, wait, no, that's not it. Okay, no, that's not it. But yeah, those are the 7 things I've done. I hope there are 7. I think I listed out 7. But those are the things I've done. So what I want you to do, if you want to, of course, I'm not professional, remember. If you want to do it, take 2 and try it out for a little bit. Because all these 7 things that I've done it over months and now years apparently. And I didn't realize it, but it did help. It did help a lot. So I just encourage that maybe it could help one of you or 2 of you out there too. So let's try it out. If there's any breakthrough, please just let me know. And if you're looking for anything else, just let me know. So, with all that said, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and I hope it helps you in some way. If you really like the podcast and you think it could help a certain someone, a certain someone, maybe you know somebody who knows a guy, you know what I'm saying? Share it with them and let them know where they can find me, which is on Instagram at lifeaintbad.podcast. If any of you have a certain topic you'd like me to discuss with you, shoot me a DM. Let me know. But for now, this is Oliver signing off. And remember, folks, life ain't bad. It's just complicated. See you in the next one, guys.